You've got some nerve thinking you have the right to marry my son. I will never, ever allow a person such as yourself to get married to my Eugene. Do I make myself crystal clear? You are never welcome in this house again. A mere peasant such as yourself has no business setting foot in a home like ours. Wow, when I saw the notification that you had texted me, I was expecting to see an apology. You know, since you threw a cup of tea all over me and chased me out the door. This was quite the experience. I've never met someone so willing to out themselves as a sociopathic comic book villain before. And why would I apologize for doing any of that? It was all for your benefit. I had to make sure you were aware of your position in society. You should be thanking me, if anything. Excuse me? Just what do you mean by my position in society? I'm sorry. Is English not your strong suit? I thought it was perfectly clear what I meant. In this world, you're the kind of person that gets things thrown at them when they don't know their place. Does that make things clearer to you? Or will I have to dumb it down even more to make you understand? Honestly, you can't even comprehend basic English. How did you ever get the idea in your head that you were worthy of my son? The issue isn't my English. The issue is your nonsensical logic. First thing, my family isn't poor, so you're just plain wrong on that point. Second, even if I were poor, that wouldn't give you the right to physically assault me for coming into your home when invited. How adorable. A person who went to nothing but public schools all the way from elementary to high school thinks they aren't poor? Furthermore, not only was your father nothing but an ordinary salaried employee, but your mother worked. She had a job rather than being a housewife. If that isn't poor, then I have no idea what is. Yeah, we agree on that point. You have no idea what a poor family is. You think that makes a family poor? Are you serious? Oh, you silly, silly girl. Compared to our family, all of you commoners are poor. Men who make a respectable living don't need to ship their wives off to some factory to make ends meet. I quit my job the very day that I married my husband, and I haven't earned one single solitary cent ever since. My husband runs his own company. He's an elite executive. I can get anything I could possibly want in this world with just his income alone. Yeah, I have no doubt that you have a very comfortable lifestyle with your husband's income. He runs one of the biggest companies in the state, and well, I'm trying to remember what Eugene told me. How many houses do you guys own? Was it 4 or 5? 4? What do you think I am, lower middle class? We have 6 houses, thank you very much. We had 5 for some time, but we drove by a lovely little cottage a few weeks ago, so I had my husband buy it for me. My husband is absolutely wonderful to me. He buys me whatever I want. I'm sure that must be quite a shock, coming from a family who only owns a single run-down shack. Leaving the run-down jab aside for now, yes, we own one house, but seeing as my parents both worked, it was hard for us to go on any extended vacations together anyway. We could barely ever go camping overnight, much less go and stay in a second home for the weekend. I really don't understand how you peasants could live like that. Our family went on vacations whenever we felt like it. That's one of the benefits of inheriting a successful family business. Since you run the whole company, there's no need for you to ask for time off work. You simply take it. I've probably forgotten about more family vacations than a pauper like you has ever taken. How lovely for you. And my lifestyle didn't change one bit after marrying my husband. He's an incredibly talented businessman, one of the best in the country, I'd say. He managed to start up his own company, even without the financial assistance of my fabulously wealthy parents. Not only that, but he made it into a giant in the industry. Eugene inherited his genes, too. He's just as talented as his father. He took my grandparents' company and made it into an even more powerful enterprise. Trust me, I am very aware of what a hard-working and talented man Eugene is. Leading a well-established company like that at such a young age has to come with a ton of pressure. But he doesn't ever seem like the pressure bothers him at all. He just pushes on towards whatever goal he's working on and generating results, too. It's precisely that nature of his that makes me want to support him as his wife. Hold your tongue, peasant girl! I've tried so hard to get you to understand just how low your stature is, but you are bound and determined to avoid the plain truth. My family is descended from nobility, and our company has well over 100 years of history. My husband is one of the most successful businessmen in this state in a century, and my wonderful son is already a successful executive at his young age. Many of my relatives run their own companies as well. A lowly, impoverished girl like you has no business marrying into a family like mine. I order you to break up with my son immediately." "Well, Katrina, you've made your opposition to our marriage very clear. I also know that your reason for opposing our marriage is because I'm apparently not wealthy enough for your standards." "Yes, and that's a perfectly valid reason. Marriages are supposed to take place between people who are of the same caliber. You, my dear, are simply not up to snuff. I won't let you have my son." "Don't think I don't know that you're only marrying my son for his money, you vile, greedy little girl." "Okay then, fine. We'll call the engagement off." "Good! Now never come anywhere near our house again. If people see you in the area, it'll cause local real estate values to plummet." "Understood. Goodbye, Katrina."
Alina, is it true? Are you really breaking off our engagement? My mom just called me over. She said she had something really important to talk to me about, and she told me that you accepted her request to break off our engagement? Please, Alina, tell me that isn't true.
No, it's the truth, actually. The way she was talking to me, it just made me so sick to my stomach. I couldn't just sit back and take it anymore, so I decided to put our marriage on hold for now.
Alina, I am so sorry for the way my mother spoke to you today. Don't worry, I'm going to have a serious heart-to-heart talk with my mom about this. I'll have her apologize to you in person. So please don't do this. Don't break up with me. You're the only woman in the world for me. There's no one else I'd rather marry.
I really appreciate you saying that, Eugene. It makes me so happy to have a man love me the way you do. But I'm sorry, I just can't get married while the mother of the groom is so desperately opposed to the marriage. It just wouldn't work out. I had no choice but to call off the engagement.
But Alina!
Don't worry, Eugene. Everything's gonna be all right. Remember, I'm only calling off our engagement for now. I didn't say for good.
Wait. Really? So we're not breaking up?
She said to call the engagement off, so I did. It's as simple as that. My long-term plans remain unchanged, however. I still have every intention of marrying you. We're going to be together forever, Eugene. It might just take a wee bit longer than we originally planned. That's all.
Really? You mean it? So it's not that you don't love me anymore?
Not at all. I still love you just as much as I ever have. I just can't get over what a stupid reason your mother has for opposing our relationship. Seems like she needs a little bit of convincing. If I can convince her that I'm a fitting wife, all our troubles are solved. I'm going to make her an offer she can't refuse, so they say. When I'm through with her, she'll be begging me to marry you.
Alina, why are you quoting a mafia movie? What are you planning to do to my mother? You're kind of scaring me here.
To be honest, I haven't come up with a concrete plan yet, but I have a couple of ideas I'm working on.
Well, okay, but just as long as that concrete doesn't end up on my mom's feet, got it? Seriously, though, I don't think you need to be so concerned about having my mom's consent or not. Why can't we just ignore her? She'll come to accept it sooner or later if we just push forward. Plus, my dad is super supportive of us. I'm sure if we told him we wanted to elope, he'd give us his blessing.
Yeah, that is one option we have available to us, I guess. But my pride won't allow me to take the easy way out in this situation. I'm going to prove to your mom that I'm the only woman out there who's good enough for you.
Wow. You know, you're typically kind of quiet and avoid confrontation, but man, when you get your mind set on something, there's nothing in the world that could stop you. All right then, Alina, if that's the way you feel, then you go ahead and do what you need to do. We can put our wedding on hold for now, like you want, but if it's all right, could we work together on convincing my mom to accept our relationship? I don't want you to have to do it alone.
Thanks, Eugene. I appreciate you being so understanding. My goal is to have everything settled before the end of the year. Do you think you could handle waiting until then? Well, 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 I've heard everything from Eugene, Alina. I see you've finally given up on your ridiculous attempt to marry my son. Oh, don't get me wrong, I haven't given up on Eugene by a long shot. We're only breaking off our engagement. Technically, you could say that we've broken up, but I still have every intention to marry Eugene. And here I was, thinking you finally saw reason. What a silly little girl you are. You peasant types never know when to quit, do you? It's embarrassing to watch. Every single word you say makes me more and more confident I was right about you, Alina. You're not up to snuff to marry into this family. Speaking of which, I had something I wanted to ask you about. When you say I'm not up to snuff, what does that mean specifically? What would you consider being up to snuff? What? It's clear that this is a subjective judgment by you, so I'd like you to clarify what you mean by that. More specifically, what would I have to do in order to get you to accept me as a suitable wife for Eugene? I'm very much in love with Eugene, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes for you to approve of me. So what about me isn't up to snuff? What would I have to do to become up to snuff? I don't see why I should have to explain myself to the likes of you, but since you're being so obnoxiously persistent, I'll humor you. I'm talking about money, you dolt. If you don't have at least a similar net worth to ours, then there's no way I could ever consider you as up to snuff for my Eugene. Ah, I see. So let me see if I have this correct. You're saying that I need to have as much money as your family does, right? Isn't that what I just told you? Yes. If you had as much money as my family does, then I would accept your relationship. Not that a pathetic little peasant girl like yourself could ever do that. It would take you 1,000 years, maybe even 10,000. You really think it would take that long? Oh, no. Are you going to tell me that you're going to go right now and start saving up money until you have as much as my family does? You must have dropped out of high school or something. Basic math skills would tell you that's impossible. You could save $1,000 a month every month for the rest of your life, and it still wouldn't be enough, you idiot. It's clear to me now why you thought you deserved to marry my Eugene. You're not living in reality. You're living in some peasant fantasy world. Huh? Did you forget what I told you before? I come from a line of successful entrepreneurs. He's retired now, but my grandfather ran the family business he inherited from his father. Eugene now runs that company, and he's grown our family's wealth and influence to a far greater level than it ever has been. My husband is a successful businessman in his own right. He built his own company from the ground up, and it's now one of the most successful companies in the area. When you add up our real estate and other liquid assets, our net worth is positively astronomical, something the likes of you could never possibly comprehend. I would make a conservative estimate of our total net worth at around 50 million. 50 million, huh? I see. You're right, that is quite a lot of money. It definitely would be difficult to build up that kind of wealth from scratch. Do you see now, peasant girl? Are you finally prepared to give up on marrying Eugene? No matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you save, no matter what you do, there is no possible way that you will ever end up being up to snuff for this family. Now go and marry some poor man who's just as poor as you are. You'll find plenty of them downtown on the street, living in cardboard boxes. Nah, no thanks. I'm gonna go ahead and marry Eugene. After all, my family meets your criteria of being up to snuff, so you shouldn't have any problem with us getting married. Isn't that great news? What on earth are you talking about? I give up. I surrender. You are totally hopeless. Even after all this time, you still think your pathetic, impoverished family is worthy of associating with mine. You said we'd need to have a net worth of 50 million, right? We've got plenty more than that. I was actually kind of surprised you set your standards so low, to be honest. I had no idea you'd be so reasonable. Now that that's settled, Eugene and I can go back to preparing for our wedding. Are you out of your mind? Do you have any idea how much money 50 million is? If you make 1,000 a day, it would take you over 100 years to save that much. There's no way a family as poor as yours could ever have that much money. It's mathematically impossible. What are you going to try and tell me now? Have you just been pretending to be a poor family, and the truth is that you're actually fabulously wealthy? Yeah, actually we are. My family may not live too extravagantly, but the truth is we are quite wealthy. You said you were descended from nobility, isn't that right? Me too. I have royal blood. Wait, you have royal blood? What do you mean? It's surprising to hear, huh? Imagine how I felt the first time my parents told me about it. They sat me down one day when I was old enough to understand and broke the news to me. I didn't even believe them at first. I started laughing. I thought it was all some kind of prank. I don't believe that story either. That's all a lot of nonsense. Clearly your parents are just lying to you to make you feel better about being in abject poverty. I mean, think about it, Alina. If your family were really royalty, why on earth would you be living in a place like this? I can't believe you actually took such a ridiculous story seriously. Believe it or not, it's the truth. But my grandfather was actually a member of an Arabian royal family. And as for why we're living here, we moved over here when my grandpa died, before I was born. Are you being serious right now? My grandmother was from around here, but she went on a trip in the Middle East after graduating from high school. While she was there, my grandpa saw her while he was out on the town disguised as a commoner to get away from their mansion for a while and instantly fell in love with her. So, yeah, he went up and talked to her, and long story short, my grandma became a princess. A princess? To be fair, it's not like she was the only princess. My grandpa wasn't even in line to inherit the throne, so she was never going to be the queen or anything. But being royalty, they had enough money to live wherever they wanted, however they wanted, with no issues. Their happiness was short-lived, though. Shortly after their son, my dad, was born, my grandpa passed away in a tragic accident. So my grandma had a discussion with the rest of the royal family about what to do, and in the end, they all agreed that it would be for the best for my grandma to move back here with my dad. They made a deal with her. In exchange for inheriting all of her husband's share of their family's assets, she would renounce her and my dad's royal status. They obviously didn't want some distant relatives coming around in the future all of a sudden making a claim to the throne, you see. That sounds like something out of a movie. Needless to say, the money that she inherited was more than enough for her to raise my dad by herself. She also invested that money well, and so her fortune just kept growing and growing and growing. And as a result of that, my family's estate is just about as big as yours is. I don't believe this. It can't be true. If you really had that much money, you'd surely be living a much more luxurious lifestyle than you are now. Your house, your clothes, your car, everything you own is so painfully middle class. Yeah, that's true. I don't know, I guess my family just never really had much of a taste for luxury. Plus, the only reason we had all that money was because my grandma married into royalty. It seemed like it would be disrespectful to my grandpa's memory if we just went and squandered it all on expensive junk. But you, on the other hand, are one incredible person, Katrina. All your family's money is from the hard work of your grandparents, your parents, your husband, and your son. You haven't worked a day in your life, have you? But you have absolutely no problem lording your family's wealth over other people despite doing nothing at all to contribute to it. That's incredible. What did you just say? Are you trying to insult me, Alina? Insult you? Oh, perish the thought. I'd never dream of insulting you. I'm just impressed with how uninhibited you are, that's all. If it were me, I'd never be able to act like you do. I'd be way too ashamed. But you don't seem like it bothers you at all. That's incredible. You are insulting me, aren't you? In any case, everything I've just said is true, so my family meets your criteria. We have just as much, if not more, money to our names as your family does. So what do you say to that, Katrina? Is my family up to snuff? Do you still object to me and Eugene getting married? Oh, that... Well, If you don't believe me yet, that's fine. I can prove everything if you want me to. I can go and get some bank statements showing a detailed breakdown of my family's assets. My grandma can show you the pictures from their wedding with the whole royal family together, too. You should see her dress. It was gorgeous. Oh, wait, that's right. You told me that I was never welcome at your house again because my presence might lower neighborhood real estate values. How about I give all the documents to Eugene and have him bring them to you? Would you prefer doing it that way? Anyway, I'm gonna go and get everything ready. I'll let Eugene know when I'm done.
I can't believe it. You were telling the truth. You really are descended from royalty. Oh, and your grandmother's dress really was gorgeous. I'd love to wear a dress like that. And all the bank documentation checked out, so you really are just as wealthy as we are. I admit that now.
Well, thank you very much for believing me, Katrina. Can I take this to mean that you now no longer have any objections to Eugene and I getting married? Is that right?
Of course, go right ahead, dear. Now that I know the truth, I don't have any more reason to oppose your relationship. Quite the contrary, I'd be thrilled for my son to marry a woman of such high stature as yourself. We would love to welcome you into our family as a daughter-in-law.
Isn't that generous of you?
Oh, do listen, though, dear. The truth is, on the inside, I've always been completely supportive of your relationship. Really, all I've ever wanted was for my darling son to marry the woman he loved, and for the two of you to live happily ever after. It's just that, well, you understand, don't you? I had to consider the social standing of my family. I had no choice but to object. It's not that I wanted to get in between you two. I wished that there was some way you could be together. I'm sorry for calling you things like poor, peasant, pauper, impoverished, middle class, idiot, dolt, and, well, all the other nasty things I said to you. I never meant a single word of it, Alina. You understand that, don't you?
Wow, this is quite a change of heart for you. It's almost like I'm speaking to a completely different person.
I can say the same about you. Now that I know the truth, I wouldn't want Eugene to marry any woman in the world except you. I'm so glad that you'll finally be able to get married. Ever since the day you walked into our house, I thought that the two of you were so perfect for each other.
Well, thanks for that. Although it seems odd that you would throw a cup of tea all over the woman who you thought was perfect for your son.
Oh, that silly old story. Oh, let's just forget that ugly incident ever happened. What's important is that now you and my son are getting married. So we need to get working on planning the wedding right away. I'd say this calls for a lavish celebration. We're going to have a wedding fit for a princess.
Nah, that's all right. We're gonna have a small, simple wedding with just the immediate family members. Me and Eugene don't really care that much about fancy food, decorations, that sort of thing.
Don't be ridiculous, I insist. We're going to have a wedding that puts your grandparents one to shame. After all, neither of our families are hurting for money. We should have the kind of party that people of our economic class have.
Really, Katrina, it's fine. We don't need that. We don't want that either.
I have a friend of a friend who knows the designer who designs dresses for a number of Hollywood actresses. We'll have them make your dress. And of course, I'll want a dress too. What do you think, Alina? What kind of dress are you going to buy for me? Oh, do you think you could ask for one of your grandmother's in-laws to make me one?
Hold on. You want me to buy a dress for you?
Well, obviously, yes. After all, I did consent to you marrying my son, didn't I? You want to show your appreciation to me for that, don't you? With a fortune like yours, you can surely afford to splurge a little on such a special occasion. I'd say something in the neighborhood of 30,000 would suffice.
I'm not spending $30,000 or even $300 on a dress for you, Mom. I'm not even going to invite you to our wedding, so leave Alina alone. Never bother her again.
Huh? Wait, did you just call me Mom? Eugene, is that you? Are you with Alina right now?
Yeah, I am. We've been having an important talk about our future, and we've made our decision. I'm cutting you out of my life, and we're just going to have a small wedding for our immediate family. Nothing that we do from now on is any concern of yours, so don't butt into our affairs.
Eugene, what are you saying? You're cutting me out of your life. You can't do that to me. And how can you refuse to invite your own mother to your wedding? Why are you acting like this all of a sudden?
You want to know why, Mom? Go ahead and think back on everything you've done to us so far. You've done nothing but insult, demean, and mock my fiancé, the woman who I chose to spend the rest of my life with. Not only that, you threw a cup of tea on her and threw her out of the house. Honestly, I don't know where you get off even thinking you have the right to talk to Alina at all after doing something like that.
But I just told Alina that I didn't mean it. I never wanted to oppose your relationship. I just had to. Everything I did was to protect you, Eugene.
Oh, shut up. I don't want to hear any more lame excuses out of you, Mom. It took way too long, but I'm grateful that you finally came to accept the fact that we're going to be together. That doesn't change anything, though. Once Alina and I are officially married, I'm never speaking to you again.
Eugene, no.
When we have kids, you're not ever going to meet them. You're going to grow old, sad, and alone because of what you've done. And the best part, you're not even going to have all the money you love so much to keep you company.
How can you talk so cruelly to your own mother, Eugene? And besides, you're wrong. I won't die poor and alone. I still have your father with me, and as long as I have him, then I won't be in need of company or money. Why would you say such a ridiculous thing?
I wouldn't be so sure of that if I were you, Mom. I doubt Dad is going to be as willing to support you as you think he is.
What? What do you mean?
I mean that I'm not the only one who's completely fed up with you over this. Dad, Grandpa, and even Grandma are all just as furious at you as I am. I had a talk with all of them before coming here to talk with Alina today. Dad's considering divorcing you, and Grandpa is saying that he's hurt that you would be treating the wealth he built as if it were your own.
What? Hold on. Oh, this doesn't make any sense. Divorce? Divorce? Why would that old fool go and say something like that all of a sudden?
This isn't sudden. He's been thinking about it for quite some time now.
But that's...
It's true that we're wealthier than most people. We're literally the 1%ers people get so mad at these days. But you've been looking down on and mistreating other people just because of our economic status. Every snide remark you've made about people with less money than us has pushed Dad one step closer to where he is now. You haven't noticed? You sleep in the same bed as him.
I had no idea. But, wait, he always told me that I could buy whatever I wanted, go wherever I wanted, do whatever I wanted. He even bought that lovely cottage for me just a short while ago.
That was just his way of not having to deal with you. He was just saying earlier that it gives him a headache just having to talk to you these days.
He did?
And think about it, Mom. Why do you think Grandpa gave the company to me? Don't you think it was odd that he would completely skip over you, his own daughter, and hand ownership and control of his company straight over to me?
Well, that's because I've never been much for working. All I've ever been is a housewife.
Yeah, that's all you've ever done, and you can't even do that well. You don't even do the housework. You hire a maid service to do all of that for you. You've never shown any desire, interest, or capability of running the company. A skilled businessman like Grandpa could easily see that you'd run the company straight into the ground. So tell me, Mom, exactly what is the point of keeping you around anyway? All you do all day, every day, is spend our money and insult other people. But you weren't satisfied with that. No, you also had to butt into your son's relationship and try to get his fiancé to break up with him. Conversely, can you think of a reason for Dad not to divorce you?
Well...
Why don't you take some time off from being an elitist jerk and think about just what sort of position you're in? All you are is someone lucky enough to be born into a wealthy family and marry a successful man. What would you do if you got kicked to the curb? You'd be living in a cardboard box by the day's end.
No! Oh, this can't be happening. I can't get divorced at my age. I wouldn't be able to live the life of a commoner. It would kill me.
Then I guess you had better do whatever you need to do to keep Dad from divorcing you, if that is there's anything that you can do about it at this point.
Oh no, oh this is terrible, what am I going to do?
You should have thought about that before you went and tried to make my fiancé break up with me. And just to make myself crystal clear, I don't ever want you talking to Alina ever again. Do you understand that? We're not inviting you to the wedding, and you're not allowed to come to our new house once it's built. If you ever try to come and talk to us, I'll throw a cup of tea at you and throw you out the door, just like you did to Alina.
Eugene and I finally got married and had the small family-only service that we wanted. Just like we told her, we didn't invite her to the wedding. Instead, she stayed at home doing housework all day by herself. I wonder how long it's been since she's actually done any housework by herself. She's used to having the maid service do everything for her. Seems that it was a massive shock to her system when Eugene told her he was cutting her out of his life. After that, she went to her husband and her parents and arranged a time for them to talk things out. First, Eugene demanded that she send me a letter of apology immediately. Second, her husband told her that she's on final notice. He wouldn't divorce her right away, but if she didn't change her ways, then he would divorce her in a heartbeat. Third, her parents said that she wouldn't receive a single penny of inheritance from them unless she got a job for herself. Like Eugene said to her in that last text exchange, her husband and parents were fed up with her too, and they weren't going to take it anymore. She's currently working on the cleaning staff at her husband's company. Apparently he didn't just give her the job. She had to go through the interview process like